I wanted to make a short video about my experience on Thursday, and to be honest, I'm not really doing this as a live video, even though it technically is live, just because I don't know how long I'm going to be talking for, and it's easier to upload and it takes way less time. So since I'm just going to be talking and I would just edit it anyway, I'm just not going to be editing on here because you can't edit things live. But I kind of want to talk about what happened on Thursday. So today is Sunday, well, Saturday actually. It's 11:53 p.m. and I'm up late because I'm always up late. But Thursday was a really scary day for me. If people didn't know, the ketamine wore off for me. It only worked for a week, and I'm going to be going back on it and figuring out what dose works for me. So my pain went from crazy to literally 0, which was amazing, and then it came on with a vengeance. It's really, really scary, and really, really hard to deal with. On Thursday of this past recent week, I woke up and I was just in so much pain, and I had a doctor's appointment that day, and I was like, Mom, like, she actually canceled it. I didn't ask her. She canceled it before I even asked because I was so sick, and I was having problems with my skin again that we didn't know if it was an infection because I had these like red spots on my skin, and I had shooting pain down my legs, and that happened every time I had an infection, so I didn't know if I was going to the hospital, and I was so fatigued. Like, yeah, I might have taken 3 naps today, but I could barely open my eyes. And then I realized I couldn't walk, which is where I'm like, oh, the neurological part of me is setting in, and I would try to walk, and my feet were like toed in, and I'm not pigeon-toed at all, and I would roll onto the outside of my feet, and I would break at the waist back and forth, and I would like try to step, and I would step over myself, and I needed my mom to help me walk, and I was just in so much pain that my mom called my doctor, my regular doctor, and had me seen, and then sent me to the dermatologist, which was close, and I was in a wheelchair. This has happened many times before because my nerve pain gets so bad that I am unable to walk because the pain is so bad, and because of neurologically my feet not being able to position, or me not being able to hold my whole body weight and my balance and all of those things. So I was in a wheelchair. But the wheelchair, the whole point of this video is that the best part of this terrible situation, I was like, am I gonna end up in the hospital? I have my hospital bag packed in the car for emergencies. If so, Sonoma has to stay. How long is it gonna be? Or the doctor's gonna be a jerk? All these things going through my head while I'm like so sick, and I was in my pajamas, and my hair was a mess, and I didn't get dressed. I didn't do anything. But I had this travel wheelchair, and it got me from my house to the car to the elevator, and it got me there, and I wouldn't have been able to get to the doctor without that wheelchair. And it's not about being able to walk. It's a blessing, and anyone who is able to walk is very, very fortunate, and that's something that most everyone who can walk takes for granted. I mean, I was always able to walk, and I thought nothing of it, but now I was like, I have this tool, And I'm not upset about having to use it. I was just upset about this whole situation and the pain, and is the medicine gonna work? And I was doing so well and having a setback. And one of my friends who I talked to a bit, but then I was just so tired that I don't know how much we actually texted during this. We texted before. Emily, who has a Facebook page. Yeah, she does have a Facebook page for cerebral palsy. But she has an Instagram too. She has a YouTube channel. I believe it's called Chronically Emily Grace. I hope. You just type that in, I bet you'll find her. She has short, longer than mine, dark brown hair, glasses, cute little dog. She has cerebral palsy, and she's dealt with wheelchairs and walkers her whole life, and that's all she knows. And I was like, I'm not gonna make this into a pity party that I'm in a wheelchair for right now. It could last a couple days. I think the most it's lasted for these kinds of situations at its worst was a week. But I was like, you know, all the things that Emily has to go through every day, I don't have to go typically through every day. You know, I can take a day off from not showering. She has to deal with this all the time, and has to shower, has to get dressed and do everything that a normal person does, but sometimes she has to do things in a different way because of her wheelchair and her unsteady gait. And I was just thinking about her and how this is temporary for me and how privileged I am. And cerebral palsy is permanent, and not saying that, like, once upon a time there weren't wheelchairs and there weren't walkers, so there is definitely going to be an increase of awareness, I definitely hope. And that's funny because one of her dog's name is Hope. And research and things to help people with cerebral palsy have greater independence with their lives. But this was just a temporary thing for me. I'm not going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. I was only in a wheelchair for a day, so I wasn't like, oh, I can't go up to my room. I watched my best friend Emily fight to get up 2 flights of stairs like a trooper when we went and met at my high school for our dogs to meet, Sonoma and Hope. And with the help of my mom, the railing of course, and her mom, she went up 2 flights of stairs, and I saw how physically taxing it was and how hard it was for her to move her feet and how she has drop foot and all of these things, and how easily I just walked up the stairs, and like those things you take for granted. So it can be upsetting, and it's definitely a setback to have to go to the point when I was in the wheelchair, when it was for longer amounts of time, but it really wasn't the chair. It wasn't the fact that I was sitting and I couldn't, it really wasn't. It was just the fact that I was in so much pain that I couldn't stand and do what I normally wanted to do. And if I could just be out of the pain, and if I was in the wheelchair, I would take that over being in pain all the time and being able to walk. I wonder what Emily's opinion on that is, if she would rather be able to walk all the time and deal with chronic pain in her situation, or not deal with chronic pain but still be in the wheelchair. And of course it's different for me to adapt to being in a wheelchair when it's a couple days, because unlike Emily, I wasn't in a wheelchair for my whole life and like brought up that way. So for her, she doesn't know any different. but I do know different. So I know like how it can be kind of a but and a hard thing, but for her it's just normal. She's like, this is my wheelchair, like these are my feet and this is how I walk upstairs. Like, people don't think anything of that, and she doesn't think of anything of her wheelchair. It's just like another thing in the house, you know? So I had a really hard day Thursday, and luckily I think I'm coming around. I'm very, very sluggish. Like, I had like 2,000 steps today. It's just turning midnight right now. And pretty much all of those were from it being past midnight, so right about now, 24 hours ago, going up and down the stairs to grab green tea because it was helping me. I just wanted tea. I also have my port accessed. I had IVIG on Friday, and I kept it accessed because I can use it for Toradol, for pain, because Advil really just doesn't cut it, and I'm keeping this accessed for a week in case I need it. You can only have Toradol 5 days in a row. So I'm trying to not use it unless I have to, but luckily I have this as a great tool. Again, nothing to be ashamed of, never been ashamed of it, happy to have it, great tool for me. And the wheelchair was a great tool for me at that time, and it just, every time, which is not often, but that I have to go in a wheelchair, whether it's because it's a large crowd and my mom doesn't want someone to touch my back to me to have an atonic seizure, or she's worried I'm gonna have a seizure at a concert, which might happen when we have like Josh Groban. I don't know if I'm gonna have a wheelchair then. It always reminds me even more of how lucky I am to have the abilities that I do have, even though my life isn't perfect, and nobody's life is perfect, and everyone has their own struggles. But there's no problem with using a wheelchair as a tool, and I really am very glad that I have learned to embrace that and not get really sad and upset and mad about it, and instead just take it day by day, because right now I'm not using the wheelchair and Emily still is. You know, she has what she has, and she's still going on with her life and doing the best that she can. And although we have different struggles, we have an inseparable bond, and we just really understand each other so well, and she's just such a great friend, and we really have to hang out soon. So we deal with a lot of different struggles, but we really understand each other because we just do. We're just those kind of friends. We're the same age, like a couple months apart, and it's just really great to have friends like that you can connect to, and then you can look and see how lucky you are and have gratitude. And then they also have, like, she also has gratitude herself, because she said to me, like, today, like, I can't imagine, like, that you're in so much pain. I wish I could take this away for you. I wish I could get you this treatment. I wonder what that feels like. And she'll talk to me like that because she doesn't know those parts of how I live, and I don't know certain parts of how she lives. We talk about it, but she doesn't live in my shoes and I don't live in hers. It's just a really special relationship, and I just think it's a really great way to look at life and know that one day, Wednesday, I was walking, the next day, Thursday, I couldn't take a step, and to just cherish every moment. And if you're in that wheelchair, embrace that wheelchair. If you're in that walker, embrace that walker. If you have to lay in bed all day, then you just have to make the best of it. And it doesn't mean you can be positive all the time, because we're human, and it just doesn't work like that either. There's a balance. It's everything in moderation, as my grandmother, Meme, always says. I'm going to try to go to bed now because I am going to my aunt's. Well, I'm going to see my aunt tomorrow, which is technically today, Sunday. And Sunday the 22nd, July 22nd, and she's going to teach me how to crochet because it was a little tricky and I had coordination issues. But that's what I wanted to talk about today in my video, and I will see you later.